Welcome to The Know, I am Ashley.
I'm John.
What do you do if you're an online EA game, you're trying to make a good impression on players after the recent Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot box fiasco?
Try to convince people you're not part of EA at this point?
That is one strategy. That is indeed.
Well, if you're their upcoming title, UFC 3, you say, hold my beer, and hit gamers with some of the craziest microtransactions yet.
Reports are making the rounds that EA's newest fighting game features similar pay-to-win mechanics that EA already got raked over the coals for in Star Wars Battlefront 2. However, some of the information going around about it doesn't quite give you the full picture.
Despite not exactly being what it seems to be on the surface, this does show that publishers, even when they've already been under fire, probably aren't going to be changing tactics anytime soon when it comes to loot boxes and microtransactions. They're here to stay, people.
However, all is not lost. One big industry analyst out there did just publish a report saying, hold on guys, single player games do still have legs, and the numbers prove it.
Yeah, but more on that in a minute. First, let's talk about EA's most recent example of swinging for the microtransaction fences.
They're swinging hard.
They are. UFC 3, which has been put under the microscope this week thanks to players finally getting their hands on its beta.
The game's already made a number of headlines this week and getting quite a bit of bad publicity. The main reason for that is basically, every single bit of progression in its Ultimate Team mode seems to be locked behind loot boxes and pay-to-win mechanics. So it's a step up from what they've done before.
Double down on the bad stuff. Astute Gaming said of their time with the game, the unflinching reliability upon microtransactions may be the most absurd and disgraceful implementation in contemporary gaming. A new low for EA, hot off the heels of the Battlefront 2 crisis.
So that's saying something.
Yes.
Game Revolution adds, though this is only UFC 3's closed beta, its Ultimate Team mode is built from the ground up to revolve around obtaining cards, which can only be earned from its loot box-esque card packs. Without these cards, fighters are left completely useless, and obtaining better ones can transform your team from a gang of amateurs to an undefeated mob of hard hitters. So, it's similar to how the Ultimate Team modes in some of their other EA games have functioned in the past.
Pay to win. A few more details about how this works in practice. Apparently, you literally have to earn every single takedown, punch, and kick, with more rare hook punches, for example, doing more damage to opponents than low-level strikes. But if you spend money out of the gate on loot boxes, you can start getting those and overpowering other players right away.
Naturally, these details have started disseminating to places around the web where gamers are ready to pile on EA yet again following the Star Wars Battlefront 2 ordeal. However, things aren't quite the same in this instance as they were with Battlefront 2.
For one, this is a beta.
Not done yet.
Yeah.
Game's not finished.
There's no telling what the microtransactions will be like when the game actually ships in February. Although to be fair, EA said they changed them in Battlefront 2 following its beta, and that didn't amount to much.
That's true. But in addition to the unfinished nature of UFC 3, there is also the matter that this is the Ultimate Team mode, which means these kinds of microtransactions are par for the course. They're not new for these games. Doesn't make it better necessarily, but they're not new.
Anybody who's dabbled in FIFA's Ultimate Team mode will know that's how it works in that franchise as well. Collect and upgrade your players and speed up the process with real money. It's not a game mode many gamers will love, but it is separate from the rest of the online experience.
Yeah, not quite the same as Battlefront 2, where the locked progression was basically multiplayer wide, and that's most of the game. It's a big difference, and one that does go a long way, because it means the only way to enjoy any of the game's multiplayer is spend money or grind endlessly. Although, again, reiterating, right now in Battlefront 2, they did remove the microtransactions till they figure out how to sneak them back in. So right now you can't pay money, you can just grind endlessly.
Yeah, and FIFA Ultimate Team mode fans have already been used to that for quite some time. The thing is, so are UFC 2 players. Eurogamer writes that some of these loot boxes and pay-to-win measures were also the same in the previous game in the series. So it's not like this is anything new.
Still, just because it's been done before doesn't mean it should get a free pass, especially now that microtransactions across the industry are under the microscope. And judging from gamer response over the past few days, it doesn't look like EA is gonna get any kind of benefit of the doubt after what went down with Battlefront 2.
Which makes it a bit surprising that they did this microtransaction-heavy UFC 3 beta just a few weeks later without a care in the world.
You would think that they would have delayed it, maybe not had that part implemented for now if they were gonna try and be sneaky about it, but they didn't.
Yeah, you would think. More than anything, it's a sign that some of these tactics that used to only be available in free-to-play titles are going to be sticking around in full-price titles despite recent backlash.
Maybe if they can just keep it going, eventually people will get tired of complaining and just pay up.
Yes.
Maybe that's the strategy.
Totally gonna work.
It does say a lot that EA is willing to go back to this exact same well. It just burned them so soon. Again, when Bethesda tried the same tactic with paid mods, they at least waited a while and went through the trouble of rebranding them and calling them something else. It didn't work, really, but they tried.
They tried. The fact of the matter is that the money is just too good for many of these publishers, and they're not going to leave money on the table. They like money. It's a thing.
It's the point of beta business. We get it.
Yeah, already
Money.
a number of gaming's biggest have said that they'll be adopting similar live service models in 2018 and beyond.
Fortunately, not all doom and gloom for you single-player enthusiasts like myself, because one major industry analyst is saying that there is still gold in them single-player hills. I'm sure maybe not the same scope of gold, but there's still money in them. They get enough to support them, enough for them to stick around.
That's what businesses want, just enough.
Just enough.
This new claim comes from tech firm Superdata, who just published their monthly industry report, and it's got some good news about the money-making potential of single-player titles. According to the firm, quote, single-player games still have legs.
That's a load off. Their newest report states, while multiplayer-centric genres like FPS, MOBA, Battle Royale are in the spotlight, there is still room on the stage for single-player-focused games. In October, South Park: The Fractured But Whole, Middle-earth: Shadow of War, and Assassin's Creed Origins collectively generated more than $160 million through digital full game sales.
However, the report then goes on to acknowledge that yes, it will be harder for some of those games to monetize over time the way multiplayer titles do. Still, it's promising data for those out there, like EA, who insist that people just don't like single-player games the way they used to.
Yes, we do.
Yes, demand has increased for multiplayer titles, but that doesn't mean that people no longer want to play the types of experiences that they grew up with.
Now, as for where some of these outrageous microtransactions go next, we can only begin to imagine. Hopefully EA changes things up in the upcoming UFC 3 and that other titles like Anthem won't be similarly riddled with them. It is true that there hasn't been a lot of time between the Battlefront 2 backlash and this current UFC 3 beta, so you could, if you're being optimistic, look at it like they just haven't had time to make the changes. But given the current state of things, it's more likely we're gonna see more attempts at this kind of monetization rather than fewer, unfortunately. I want to be optimistic. I want to think that they will take this feedback and they will take the loss in valuation, even though they're still up for the year, and do something. I want to think that.
You're really hopeful.
I want to be.
I'm a pessimist. They're gonna keep doing this for forever.
Probably.
Until everyone just stops buying their games.
And then they'll tell us that it's because it's not, that it's our fault. Probably.
Yeah. It's gamers' fault. Hey, what do you guys think of UFC's ridiculous microtransactions? Just more of EA being EA, and we just let them, have their fun and games? Let us know in the comments.
And future updates about loot boxes, and loot boxes. Remember to like this video. If you're new around here, subscribe to the Now.
Contemporary gaming. A new low for EA, hot off the heels of the Battlefront 2 crisis.
So that's saying something.
Yes.
Game Revolution adds, though this is only UFC 3's closed beta, its Ultimate Team mode is built from the ground up to revolve around obtaining cards, which can only be earned in its loot box.